Just enjoying summer, guys. I'm enjoying the summer.
dying in this heat.
Yeah, I know it's hot today in Toronto. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, whatever time it is for you right now. Just know that you are locked in Until the Point with
Skip
and the King. You guys know what to do. Go down there, click subscribe, click like, leave comments. Thank you guys for your support and supporting watching us and getting us those views and supporting our fantastic guests, especially my man out there, Mr. Kenyon Nisbett, my man out there. How you doing, brother? Are you enjoying your summer?
It's going well, busy, and I was just outside, but it's doing well.
It's good in the peg, ain't it?
Yeah, well, I'm in the GTA. Right now, so yeah.
All right.
Feeling the heat with you guys.
Okay, so speaking of summertime, let's get right into this. Now, guys, like I alluded to, I've been enjoying my summer. So I have not really watched any of the Raptors Summer League games. So now, for myself and those others out there that are enjoying the summer, going barbecuing, going to Westega, going down to the beach, Kenyon, you are the man for this. Can you explain to us what happened during the Summer League for the Raptors?
We didn't make the championship game.
Well, that was
just barely.
By just barely. We had a chance, and we unfortunately did not win it. Which, by the way, they should go back to some sort of elimination format in the future. I hope that happens. But yeah, I thought a couple things looked well, and a couple players did what they were supposed to do. It's kind of hard to see, really stand out guys in Summer League, but I guess my thing is I have a different way of looking at Summer League, but we can get to that after. Skip, I don't know, or anyone.
Overall with the Raptors, can you educate me and our great fans out there?
Right. So the way that I look at Summer League is you watch Summer League a little bit differently than you would watch a normal basketball game, because a lot of these guys are raw prospects just coming up from college, now dealing with people of bigger size, full-grown men, full-grown adults. So the first thing that NBA level, exactly. So some of them are veterans and whatnot. So the first thing that I look for is, how does a guy look in terms of physical size, physical profile? How does that compare? So, a good example is Scotty Barnes versus Cade versus Suggs. The reported heights versus what they actually showed when they were against their peers. It was very obvious, like, that Scotty Barnes is a big human, is basically a man-child, whereas Cade was shorter, Suggs was also shorter. Now, with this year, you saw Koloko he was a 7-footer, and he has a massive wingspan. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I look for is things like positioning, and at least one translatable NBA skill that will translate, that will keep this player on the floor. For the Raptors, the thing that they care about is defense. So that would be that. And then the last thing that I really look for is decision making. I mean, you at least look for the processing speed and the processing of, okay, he made a mistake. Does he continue to make that mistake, or does he try to, at least within the game, learn from it? Because it usually means that they're listening to coaches. So yeah.
Awesome. Skip, you've seen a couple games. I know you've been busy working.
Yeah.
And doing amongst your other things. So you didn't have that much time. You've actually been coaxing me to watch the games, and I haven't. I've been enjoying my summer. From what you've seen, Skip, what are your takeaways when it comes to the Raptors in the positive side? What do you see?
So there were a few things that were positive. There were a few things that were positive. Delano Benton, obviously, his scoring was a big positive. He did score pretty well. There were some negatives there. He had a lot of turnovers. He was using a lot of possessions. He was really used in this large ball handler way. So there was sort of a negative to go with that positive. But we saw some of his shooting come out. We saw some of his scoring come out. We saw him really given an opportunity to take over the games. I think the biggest positive was this Jeff Dowtin guy that they just signed to a 2-way contract. He really crushed it. He had, I think, 16 points a game, 3.8 rebounds a game, 4 assists per game, hardly any turnovers. Very similar numbers to Banton, but in a much more in a much smaller role, kind of much more efficient. That's a bit better way to put it. Much more efficient way. Another positive, I mean, Koloko's defense, obviously, that's kind of what we were expecting. Good defense. His offense, but again, each positive comes with a negative. We saw his offensive games needs a lot of work, especially those post moves, those hook shots. Did not look comfortable finishing through traffic. Really seemed to be struggling a little bit with that stuff. So yeah, those would be my main takeaways. Yeah, I don't know.
The one thing that I did notice from the summer league, the only real thing I've actually paid attention to was during the first game. I thought that was amazing to have the core players. You guys see it on the thumbnail when you clicked on this. The core players all sitting courtside supporting the team. I think that was great that the team, the camaraderie and the chemistry is building, that brotherhood from these guys to get them better because you Skip, you and I have said before multiple times, the Raptors should stand pat and not worry about trading or getting anything big. They should build with what they have. And even Papa was on a couple of weeks ago, and he did say that there won't be contenders this year, but they'll be contenders the year after. You'll watch for that as this team grows together. So I thought, from what I saw, the growth of the team together and seeing them coming together. Don't get it twisted. I know a lot of the players want to go to Vegas and ball out and have fun, right? But yeah, you know what I mean. But they did hit the court together during practice, right? A lot of the players were there together. They were working with each other. And I think that's great for this team. So based on what you guys have seen from the Summer League, how do you see the Raptors going forward using the Summer League? Because they're not in the championship game, but they did show up, right? So how do you see with the younger core building, with the younger guys building with the core itself currently?
I'll let Kenyon take this, but I think the main thing is just it's really going to give us
I'll let Kenyon take this, but
it's really going to give us a hint as to who's going to make the roster come this season. Anyway, I'll let Kenyon weigh in on that.
Yeah, so I think Scotty Barnes said it best last year. No, this isn't for fun. This is a business trip. That's it. You can come back to Vegas when they have a contract, when they have the time. So that's how they should be seeing it. So Scotty Barnes, Pascal, OG, they've been going at each other in practice since the season ended, basically. They all took some time off, and then they've all been largely actually in Toronto and in other places, but mainly in Toronto, working out with the team in the team facilities, building that camaraderie, which is what you really want to see. So I think that from that standpoint, it's great. I think that we got some additions this year, and I'm just obviously going to focus on the Summer League guys that help what we can do. So yeah, Koloko, Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. I will keep saying that. I will keep saying that. I will keep saying that. And if you go down the line of who has won Pac-12, I don't think I saw this last time, but it's Evan Mobley, both Gary Payton Jr. won it twice, Andre Robertson. So the very bare minimum that these guys come into the league with is an ability to play defense at that professional level, if you can't count on anything else. And I think that Koloko showed that. He showed, like I said, if you roll back the tape, Tim and me were saying, I said this to Tim privately, that I was about 100%. Tim was about 70, 80%. Skip, you zagged the other way. But this guy is switchable. He can switch out on the perimeter if he has to. I don't remember him getting blown by a single time. The only time people were dunking on him was when it was weak side attacks. He had his head up on a swivel. He was calling out plays. He was saying what to do. When he was double teamed, he kicked it out. He made some nice passes. He did not force his stuff. The Koloko, as a student of the game, as a young student of the game, I think that he just really needs to work a similar thing that Delano Benton needs to work on, which is core strength. If they work on their core strength, their finishing will get better, their moves will get better. I can get to Delano in a second, but Koloko's footwork was really impressive. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely hitting the gym, but specifically core strength, back core very important, especially for one going up. So yeah, that's kind of what I noticed. But Koloko, his decision making was really, really impressive. He showed the flashes. He also showed the rawness. But he showed enough to make me even feel more comfortable saying, again, 10, 15 minutes plus G League time. I don't see a problem with that because the defense is already there. And if he fouls out, he fouls out. And you learn that way. Delano Benton showed what you should see from a second-year player. So I look for him this year, to answer your question more directly, to make a huge step into a backup guard role. So yeah.
Okay,
Skip. What did you think about the young stars?
Raptors. Well, I wouldn't call them stars. Like the guys who might make. Yeah.
Banton. Come on, they have the potential to be stars.
G League stars.
So Koloko, I think he's a one-way player at this point in his career. He's a defensive player. You can put him in, have him play defense for 10 minutes, and expect basically nothing offensively to start. Just to start, like to go. I think what we saw is he's a guy who's going to need some growth in the G League, but who can probably slide in as a part-time sort of one-way player. Banton, I think they were trying to force feed him that role as kind of a backup point guard, try to have him grow into that role. Based on as much as he scored, as much as he had some really nice games, I think the turnovers, he really was turnover prone. There were just some moments where he kind of disappeared. I couldn't really get himself going. I'm not totally.
He's learning.
I'm not totally thrilled with what I saw from him, but there were some very positive steps. It was just kind of a mixed bag.
I think though, like Delano, to play devil's advocate here, I think Delano did show improvements, and if you compare his tape and what he showed right now to last year, I think that because he was always someone who telegraphed his passes, the reads were there on what to do, but he would telegraph his passes. And so he did that less. He was still turnover prone, but he did it less. What I noticed is that his finishing improved. So you got to give the guy credit, and his shot form looked better. So I know he needs another, I would say, year of work, and I agree with that, but that doesn't mean that won't be with the big club.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to judge on Summer League because you're talking about 5 games. Like, if a guy's shooting well, if a guy's shooting poorly, I mean, we saw that one game he went off in the first quarter, and it's like, well, is he playing really well, or is he just hitting some shots? Like, there's always that question, and like anyone can go off for a quarter or a game. Anyway,
the game streaks.
Yeah. So to go on further down the list, I thought DJ Wilson was kind of a really interesting one because he's in the mix for a roster spot in camp. But the thing is, this guy was drafted in 2017, right? So you're playing in Summer League in 2022. Like, you should be way beyond Summer League at this point. You should be, if you're an NBA player, you should be dominating Summer League. And what I saw was a guy he looks like a Raptors player out there on the court because he's got the length, he's got the size, he's got the multi-positional skill. He can kind of slide in and play a really quiet game and a really strong game all around. But that's not the same as coming into Summer League and just dominating and just being like, I'm going to take over, which is kind of what you want to see at that point in a guy's career when he's 26 and still in Summer League. So I think DJ Wilson was the guy I looked at him and I was like, this guy looks like he belongs on the Raptors. He still has a bit of upside, but did he show enough? Did he really show enough as a veteran in a Summer League environment?
But let's be realistic, Skip. We didn't expect any Raptor to just dominate.
Yeah, but right? DJ Wilson's like 4 or 5 years older than everybody else on the team.
Well, no. So it is what I was going to say is that so how do you feel about Doughty? Because Doughty's only 1 year younger.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I actually did not know that.
So if you're pumping up Doughty, then at the same time, you're saying, oh well, DJ Wilson is this super old guy.
But at the same time, the thing with DJ Wilson is he was a first round pick. He's had his chances in the league. He's at a certain point in his career where you would expect him to be beyond Summer League. Dowtin, I don't know his backstory too much, but just and based on their numbers, I mean, Dowtin was scoring 16 points a game. DJ was scoring 10 points a game. I mean, it's hard to really judge based on 5 games, like I said. And I really do like some of the things I'm seeing from DJ. I just don't know if if it's necessarily enough when there's only one roster spot in camp to compete for, or two, depending if they cut Svi Mihajlovic. Anyway, but I did like what I saw from DJ. I did not like what I saw from Armoni Brooks. I think DJ looks like a Raptor. He looks like a prototypical Raptor. Armoni just looked like a guy who was out there chucking up shots, trying to get some minutes, trying to get some points. Not really doing much outside of shooting and not really converting his shots. I think he shot 27% from three on an enormous number of attempts, 10 attempts a game. That's just not going to cut it. If you want to come into the league as a 3-point spot up shooter, that's not going to cut it. So I think Brooks probably did himself no favors in summer league. And I think you were saying, Kenyon, in the chat, that you think that last roster spot's going to come down to DJ Wilson or Justin Champagnie, right?
That's what I was going to allude to.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to ask you guys. What do you think of the signing of Justin Champagnie? Does that show some promise for the Raptors organization?
Well,
yeah, I'll let you take it first.
Well, Champagnie didn't play in summer league, so there's that. It's sort of like hard to compare because we're taking a guy who was injured for summer league and a guy who played in summer league. But yeah, Champagnie. I think they're really high on Justin Champagnie. I think he's going to probably have the edge on that roster spot. I think they like him more. I think he's younger again than DJ Wilson. And I think he's also a guy that they really value his rebounding, as well as potentially the shot. I mean, if it comes along. So yeah, I think Champagnie probably has the inside track on that spot. But I could see Champagnie and DJ Wilson both making the roster and Svi getting cut. But that's just me.
Kenyon, your thoughts on Champagnie?
Yeah, I mean, between the two of them, last year he had moments where I thought he was good. I really wanted to see the continued growth. So I think it's just, hey, all these guys, whether it's Champagnie, Brooks, or DJ Wilson, they all essentially are on camp invite deals, even though it's a guaranteed salary. It's basically, we like you enough. We don't want you to look at other teams. We want you at camp and we'll decide later. I think Brooks is out. Obviously David Johnston's out. Dowtin got a two-way. So, I think it really depends on how guys come into camp and how they look. I do think that Svi Mihajlovic is potentially someone who may be yeeted off the team.
What, the odd man out, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just because I don't think he showed enough in 1 year to really, and he was given chances. And I know some people will say, the Ukraine crisis. The Ukraine crisis happened in February. And then I know some other people have countered by saying, oh, well, there was a buildup. There was a buildup since 2014. Okay, so at some point, that wasn't the factor, and he stopped playing well. He came in as a shooter, couldn't really shoot. Was an okay defender at times, struggled in transition. He struggled with a lot of things. So I would give one of the two the spot, and it really depends on what's shown in preseason and internally in camp.
Okay, guys, I know we're all short for time right now.
Mm-hmm.
So any final thoughts?
That's
quick.
All, folks.
Real quick.
Just kidding.
Just real quick, any final thoughts?
I was not impressed at all with
Sunday.
Ron Harper Jr. I know he's on a two-way contract. It wouldn't shock me if he gets dumped at some point and they sign somebody else to a two-way. It obviously won't be one of the guys who's already on the roster, but based on what I saw, I mean, it's a very small sample. Maybe he showed a lot more in practice, but I didn't see anything there that excited me. I don't know.
Well, that's why you're not the coach there, Skip.
Yeah.
That's why you're sitting here armchair quarterbacking like us.
Yeah.
Kenyon, any final thoughts before we head out of here, my man?
Yeah, I'll zag on
and
that.
By the way, it's great to have you in the city right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, Ron Harper Jr. I think he showed enough to be on a two-way. I mean, two-way spots are what they are. You kind of bring a guy through your system, and if he manages to do well enough through your system that you can bring him up to the big club. And case in point, Justin Champagnie last year was on a two-way, right? And he played big minutes at the big club. There's other guys as well that have gone through that system. So I think it's fine to have him on a two-way, I wouldn't release him. I think he showed a lot in that Miami game and the game before that with his defense. And he made good decisions in transition. Outside of that, yeah, like his shot was okay. It was a lot of okay things. But yeah, overall, Koloko is who I thought he was. I do think he has bigger upside offensively than you do, Skip. But I think in terms of his role,
changes narrative in a couple months.
Yeah. This year, his role on the big club will be limited, but that's fine. But that doesn't mean that they won't develop those skills on the other hand. The reason why I say he's not just a one-way player is because if you can add the passing, and passing is an offensive skill, last time I checked, then because of that, I don't think that you're a two-way player. That's right there. So little mini gripe, but yeah.
Okay, guys. So we all got stuff to do right now. So this has been a great conversation. Let me allude to our next episode. I'll just say 73 points.
Oh boy. The one guy who wasn't at Summer League, which is notable.
Yeah. But
playing against guys that are like your height.
Skip. We're covering that the next episode. Yeah. Our whole episode is going to be devoted to him. So this has been a great conversation, guys. I appreciate you guys for doing this, taking the time out. We all got a busy schedule. We all had all kinds of things to do. And especially you guys out there taking your time to watch us, to watch our great looking faces and our great personalities and our great guests that come on this show. Thank you very much. You guys, again, go down there, click subscribe, click like, share it. I don't care. Do it. Just do it for us. And thank you for your support. We really appreciate it. So on behalf of myself, the one and only Kenyon Nisbett, and Skip, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, and
peace.